Hi, you guys. Welcome back to the Patreon. So as you can see by the title in today's video, we are going to be discussing James Charles and his weird behavior. I feel like this is a problem all throughout influencer and celebrity world. People having relationships with kids. I'm out of breath for some reason. It's like it doesn't make any sense to me. I said on my video on my main channel about James Charles also has his own skeletons to deal with. He has his own problems to deal with. People have been talking about James Charles hanging out with little kids for quite a while, and the people he runs with on TikTok is really weird. So I was saying, like, you need to address, like, what's going on with you, why people saying you hanging out with little kids. So lo and behold, James Charles put out a statement last night basically admitting that he was sending inappropriate, like, messages, having inappropriate FaceTimes with minors. And it's just like, okay, James Charles, where do we begin? I want to treat this situation like I would treat this situation with any adult who was texting little kids. I don't believe little kids trick you. Like, I think that's the biggest lie people say. People love to say that they were tricked by some little kid, and that's why they were sleeping with a minor, or sending pictures to a minor, or hanging out with minors. I was tricked. I didn't know. They love to say this, and this is blatantly a lie, because to trick would assume that someone is basically hiding information from you. You don't ask for the information. You don't do your due diligence to go get the information because you don't want to know the truth. That is what is happening. It is not hard to see if a minor is a minor. It just don't take all that much to go see, especially in the age that we live in. Everybody has an internet footprint. Everybody is on social media. You met this person via social media. So there's absolutely no excuse. If you are serious about protecting children, it is not that hard for you to go find out if a child is a child or if this person is an adult. And from all the receipts I have been seeing, it seems like this person was very quite clear that they were a teenager. Like, it seems like it was quite clear that this person was a minor on several things. Now, here is the thing. Did the person set James Charles up for the okie doke? 110%. That's what little kids do. Like, when you're someone who could possibly engage in predatory behavior, people are going to set you up. People know exactly what you are doing, but that does not put the minor at fault for setting you up. Don't get mad that you got set up. Like, do I believe that the people, because this is what always happens when people are saying I was tricked, they almost make, like, I think they're confusing the word trick for no, you got set up. Those are two totally different words. Do I believe that the person who was sexting James Charles, who was a minor, was setting James Charles up because they knew they were a minor and they knew James Charles was not? So they knew if James Charles and them fell out, like, they could post this stuff and, like, get James Charles. I am very willing to believe that that person had that in the back of their head the entire time. But there ain't nothing wrong with having the idea in your head that you're gonna set James Charles up, because the gag of it all is James Charles should not be able to get set up. I'm sure a lot of you watching this right now are minors. You can come up with the idea in your head, I'm going to set Kenya up. And unless I fall into the trap, there is nothing you can do. There's absolutely nothing you can do to set me up on sexting a minor unless I sext a minor. So I'm not afraid. Someone literally could put in the comments right now, Kenya, I'm going to set you up for texting a minor. And it won't be able to happen because I'm just not going to be out here texting minors. So it doesn't matter if the person sets you up. They're a child. They're doing whatever they want to do. There's a lot of people who want to set you up, James Charles. The issue is, James Charles, no one can set you up for doing something you did not do. And that is what you have to understand. Like, it don't matter if you was tricked, because grown adults don't get tricked. Grown adults don't get tricked. Unless you are doing something, that is the only way someone can find out that you're, like, doing, like, we would, if you don't send the text messages, James Charles, no one sees the text message. He has nothing on you if you don't do it. So no, set up, not tricked. Because in order to trick you, you have to get tricked. Someone has to outwit you, and you are not outwitted, James Charles. You didn't do your due diligence, and that's if I believe you didn't know this person was a minor. I always have it in my head that when these situations happen, the person has a suspicion. There are things that are quite suspicious because, like, I get James Charles and the average, however old James Charles is, 21, and the average 21-year-old do not have the same, like, interactions. They don't have the same things to talk about. James Charles is a multimillionaire. The average 21-year-old barely has $200 in their bank account. So I get it. Y'all already are not going to have a lot to discuss, but there are just small milestones that a 16-year-old and a 21-year-old would share in common, where it wouldn't be hard for you to question the age of this person. Like, so you have, like, there's just things about graduating high school. There's just things about, like, random milestones. Like, do you still live with your parents? Are you going to college? What's going on with college? If you're not going to college, what are you doing? Like, there's certain questions that the person should not be able to answer if they are not aware. And I don't believe that someone that age is so into setting you up that they've covered all of these bases. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's just, you weren't tricked. You didn't do your due diligence. So if I'm willing, because there are people who are being a lot meaner than me, James Charles. There are people who are saying you knew exactly how old this boy was and you were just perfectly okay with that. And I'm not going to sit here and accuse James Charles of anything, because realistically, he probably did not ask, and that's still a problem. Like, here's the thing. I don't see either problem as, like, worse than the other. That's the difference between me and everybody else. I see both problem issue. Either one, you didn't ask, or two, you knew. Both of them are ugly in the blight. Both of them have you sexting a minor. Like, the outcome don't change to me. Just because, I don't believe that just because a 16-year-old said, I'm going to trick James Charles, it means that they also deserve their abuse. They deserve James Charles to be sexing. That doesn't mean that for me. Therefore, like, it don't matter what James Charles knew. It don't matter what James Charles did. At the end of the day, a minor was taken advantage of, and that is exactly what happened. Because I hate the idea that there's perfect victims. I talked about this in my Britney Spears video. The idea of, like, perfect victims, that literally is, if this kid decided to set up James Charles or trick James Charles, because I believe the kids set up James Charles, because look at what we're looking. The fact that we have they knew to take the screenshots. They knew. So, like I'm saying, when I use the word set up, I don't mean that in a negative way. I don't mean that in a negative way whatsoever. I mean that in the idea of this person knew to they knew they were 16 years old. They knew James Charles was an adult, and they knew that James Charles had a lot to lose. And so when it was time to come for James Charles, they knew they could come. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Why should we be up here mad at the fact that this little boy was like, I'm gonna get James Charles out of here? Because that's the thing. If James Charles is not doing it, there's nothing that this child could do. Like, you get what? So I don't feel bad for you, and I'm not mad at the kids. Like, just because, like, what is malicious intent? Like, it's this, I don't know, this idea of perfect victims. Like, I can't be out here, like, setting people up, or you knew you was 15, little girl, and you knew I was an adult. Why you trying to, like, trick me? It's like, I don't owe you nothing. This boy does not owe James Charles anything. This person does not owe James Charles a thing. Like, I can do whatever I want. I'm a kid, and kids do whatever kids want to do. And that's why that's why we say people can't sleep with children, because children are not of a sound mind. Like, they do things, like, y'all are on two different playing fields. There's no way consent can be involved. Like, and we'll we'll get into the power dynamics of it all, but there is no way consent can be involved in any of these situations with an adult and a kid, because kids are y'all not in the same mind space. Y'all not thinking about the exact same things for you to decide like if consent can be there. So this little boy, like he didn't have no option. Like, of course he was out here trying to like hit a lick on James Charles. He's a kid. Like, he didn't do nothing. That child didn't do nothing I wouldn't do. That's what I'm gonna say right now. That little boy did not do nothing I wouldn't do. If I knew I was 16 years old talking to a 21-year-old who had money, I'd be keeping my screenshots and ready to set you up and get you exposed at any minute too, because I'm a child. Because I'm a child and I know that you should know better. That is the thing. The reason why this is able to happen, because the child assumes you should know better, and when you don't know better, it's nothing but your fault. It is nothing. When you get caught up fooling around with these kids, it is nothing but your fault, because you should know better. And that's why we're all looking at you, James Charles, like this, because this kid could not do nothing you didn't let him do. Like, you got caught up because you was doing wrong, because you were doing wrong. If you were never doing wrong, there would be absolutely nothing to get you caught up on. Nothing to get you caught up on. So I don't prescribe to the I was tricked narrative, because you were not tricked. James Charles, you did not do your due diligence. You did not care. And I believe, and I'm not a part of the situation. I was not there. So this is all my beliefs, just opinions, that there were signs. Like, and then this James Charles is out here like sexting all types of people. Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing out here? Like, it don't make any sense. Like, you know you have stuff to lose. That's why it's just like, are you just being like reckless? Like, it don't make absolutely no sense. And I'm happy that this child did set James Charles up. I am happy that this child did say, like, this is the behavior that is going on behind closed doors. We are in 2021. Even in 1992, it's not that hard to figure out a child is a child. Go talk to someone's parents. Like, if you are believing that people are tricking people, you would want to do your due diligence to figure out, like, is everything right? And James Charles' statement, he's like, I have too much to lose to be doing this if I knew that this was happening. Like, you damn right you got too much to lose. So why did you not look into it? Like, there's just so many things that are going unnoticed, and there's a lot of victim blaming going on. There's a lot of like, oh, he knew he was 16. He knew he could get James Charles out of here. Yeah, he knew he was 16. He knew James Charles was an adult, and he knew he could get James Charles out of there. And that still makes him a victim. Like, that is what I'm trying to say. You can have all these things. Like, it doesn't matter if he was trying to set James Charles up. It don't matter if he was tricking James Charles. It don't change the fact that James Charles was still out here doing something, and that still makes him the victim. We don't blame little kids. We don't blame little kids for their own mistreatment. We don't blame little kids for having relationships with an adult. Like, what part of that do y'all not get through y'all thick skulls? We don't blame little kids. Like, at the end of the day, what do I always say? We make the internet a terrible place for little kids. Therefore, if people like James Charles would stop interacting with little kids, and I get it, as someone who has a younger audience, like, I'm 24, like, I have people who watch my videos, like a lot of you guys, who are younger. Like, I get appealing to younger people, but I'm not out here trying to be friends with younger people. Like, no minor on the internet has my cell phone number. It is just not going to happen. And I don't engage in friendly behavior with people from the internet who I do not know are adults. Like, that don't make any sense. And I have a lot less to lose than James Charles. It's not about having things to lose, because there are several people who have nothing to lose, who know not to talk to little kids. But let's get into the idea of people saying it's grooming and the idea that about James Charles and like his behavior. James Charles has to understand, like a lot of people have to understand, James Charles is powerful. James Charles has money. So it's nothing to do with you, why people talk to you, and everything to do with the things that you have. Therefore, it does not matter if James Charles is like, but he liked me, but he wanted to hang out. Like, I thought he was cool. James Charles, you have entirely too many resources and too many things to believe people just like you for you, James Charles. People do not just like you for you, James Charles. You are now out of the realm of people just liking you for you, James Charles. The reason why people talk to you, James Charles, is because you are James Charles. Therefore, when it comes out, you are talking to people who are younger than you. You are going to be met with grooming allegations, because in the light, all it looks like is a rich, successful adult is talking to little kids who don't have access to the same things that you have access to, James Charles. And is that not the truth? If we just talk about what is true, you are an adult, James Charles. He was a child. You are rich, James Charles. This kid does not have as much money as you, and y'all was talking on the internet. What about that is not true? It's all true. So don't be surprised when you're met with allegations that you're grooming kids. Like, and you come out and say, like, I was tricked. And it's just like, you weren't tricked. You were not tricked. Like, you know that you have all of these things and you do all of these things. So you need to make sure that you are not engaging in grooming behavior. You are not having relationships with people who are only there for your money. You are not having relationships with people who could be influenced by your influence. Like, you have to do that. And that starts with stop being friends with kids. You have to understand, James Charles, even though you are in an industry where someone as young as like 7 and someone as old as you or as old as me or as old as like anybody else can all be in the same group, it don't mean y'all have to be friends. It don't mean that y'all have to be friends. Like, there has to be a time and a place for us to say, like, you know what? I'm James Charles. I'm 21. I'm not going to talk to 16-year-olds. I'm not going to be friends with 16-year-olds, because this is not the first time of James Charles just being friends with people who are minors. I don't think 21-year-olds and 16-year-olds could be friends. Y'all can have a business relationship. Y'all can have a mentor-mentee relationship. But as far as being friends, you have to understand that that's just not a good look. That's just not a good look. Even if you don't have bad intentions, you don't know what this minor is going to do because they are a minor. And so the responsibility will always fall back on you. So you have to make the right decisions. It's the reason why I be damned if one of y'all put me in one of these group DMs with people. Like, it's never going to happen, because as an adult, I refuse to get caught up. I refuse to get caught up in some group DM with mess. Like, that's as an adult what you do. So I damn sure not going to be in the situation that James Charles did. You as an adult have to say, I am an adult and I'm not going to be friends with kids. I have no reason to be friends with kids, especially kids who ain't got nothing. Like, that's the part that is absurd. I would possibly understand if it was a kid who got a few things, like you having relationships with just internet kids. This internet, like, they don't make no sense. So yes, you are going to get met with people saying you look funny, because you do look funny, James Charles. I don't have all the information on the situation. So before I start throwing out daggers, I will refrain myself. But what I will say is, it's weird. You are an adult. You are an adult with power, and you are talking to little kids. There's proof that you were sexting kids. And at the end of the day, boom, bam, period, throw you in jail. Like, that's it. That's all it needs. That is all that it needs. And he puts in his statement that next time I'm going to ask for driver's license. How about next time, James Charles, you interact with people who are in circles as to which there's no doubt what their age are. James Charles, you are beyond meeting people on the internet. You are beyond meeting random TikTok boys on the internet. Maybe it's about time to have our dating circle be people we actually know. Like, maybe we're going to have to take it a step further, because I hated the statement, because the statement made it seem like this boy was doing him a disservice. Like, this boy was bothering him. Like, here we go. Like, why? Like, it was just pointing all the blame on this kid for doing kid type things. Like, we gonna act like James Charles, you wasn't out here at 16 being dumb, being absolutely dumb. Like, it just seemed like the whole statement just seemed like James Charles was like, this boy was talking to me, so yeah, I talked to the boy. Like, he better be glad that I would even talk to him. Like, that's what the statement was giving. It was giving very, you better be glad I was even talking to you. So how dare you try to frame me as a groomer? Like, James Charles, that's not how it went. Like, stop talking to little kids on the internet. Like, I can't believe I'm sitting to a camera telling a 21-year-old to stop talking to little kids on the internet. I was just 21 the other day. I wasn't talking to little kids on the internet. Like, it's just not that absurd to me to say stop talking to little kids on the internet. Why you find little kids cute? Why you find little kids cute? Like, I am not going to remove James Charles from the same thing I say to straight men who be in these exact situations, because we can also have the conversation about how sexual assault amongst minors is very high in the LGBT community. Like, we can have these conversations if we're going to have these conversations. And a lot of it is this idea that we don't hold predators in the LGBT community the same way we hold straight predators accountable, because we're like, let's mind our business. But it's like, wait a second, because it's not a mind our business thing. People don't care about LGBTQ kids. That's the issue. People don't care about LGBTQ kids, so we allow them to fall victim to a lot of LGBTQ predators, and so we're just like, well, we're gonna mind our business. But that's just homophobia. That's just blatant homophobia. That's just blatant bigotry, as if we don't care about kids who are LGBTQ. Like, we need to make sure we care about our LGBTQ kids as well, because it's disgusting that a lot of LGBTQ people have stories about how they were preyed on as kids. Like, we have to protect children, and a lot of it happens in the social media space. So James Charles, don't be a part of the cycle, and this is not the first time that this has happened. And I will not talk about the the Jeffree Star and Tati situation, because I feel like it belittles the actual point. Jeffree Star and Tati were lying. They were blatantly lying, and it just so happens this falls into that. I will not address Trisha Paytas and her foolishness, because Trisha Paytas is a broke clock. Like, Trisha Paytas don't know what she's talking about ever, and she uses situations to, like, do herself better. Like, they were all lying. Shane Dawg, they were lying. They were being disingenuous. Like, I don't want to bring up Trisha Paytas, Jeffree Star, and Shane Dawg, because it's disingenuous, and an actual child is in a situation, and it's more than just internet drama. It's more than just influencer drama. So I refuse to entertain that part of it all, because just like, actual kids are being hurt. Actual kids are having conversations with people in power, and like being groomed and being taken advantage of, and having you know how uncomfortable, like, even if, and then the idea back to setting the person up. Even if this guy was setting up James Charles, you know how much it takes to set up James Charles? Like, do you know how much inside of you it takes to be like, so this is the day I'm going to expose James Charles? Like, that takes a lot of courage. Like, a lot of people don't come at James Charles like that. Like, that takes courage to do. So don't even sit here and try to say, like, he did this just to get, like, it's just, I don't know. It's just, I feel for kids on the internet, and even the kids who are out here being like, I'm going to get James Charles to talk to me so I can get James Charles in trouble for talking to minors. Like, if it was something that was happening all the time, in the sense that people were always trying to trick people, it would happen more often than you know. But you want to know what is happening? Adults are having the common sense to say, I'm not talking to little kids on the internet. Like, why, James Charles, you the one who keep getting caught up in this mess? It's because James Charles still runs in these same teeny bopper circles in order to stay relevant. I said this in one of my main channel videos. James Charles does a lot to stay relevant. And a part of doing a lot to stay relevant is running around with the new school people of TikTok. And they're young. They're 16, they're 15, they're 17. They're minors. So James Charles sees himself in those circles. And it's like, you got to grow up. Like, you got to grow up and get out of those circles. You got to grow up. It's a bad look. This looks terrible. You are doing things that are illegal. And it's no one's fault. Next time, I'm going to ask for a passport. Why you wasn't already doing that? Like, if you're going to sit here and be in contact with people who could possibly be minors, why are you not doing that to begin with? That's the part that don't make no sense to me. Like, you know how you were as a kid. Like, that's the thing. Like, people want kids to be perfect. And it's like, oh, like I said, I can believe little kids out here setting up adults. I don't believe kids are tricking adults, because tricking adults would imply that you got outwitted. You're not looking into it. But I can believe like kids are setting up adults. But that's when you have to do your due diligence. Like, you have to do your due diligence to ask for these things. Like, so, and there is nothing wrong with setting up adults. Like, we were all kids once. Like, we know, like, there's nothing wrong with kids being kids. That little boy was being a kid. If he was setting you up and was like, I'm gonna hit a lick off of James Charles, like, he's a kid. Like, that's what kids do. Kids do stupid things. And that's why we boil things down to just being kids, because where there is a kid doing that, there should be an adult being like, I'm not going to get set up because I'm sitting here doing my due diligence. I don't talk to little kids. Like, I'm doing my due diligence. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? And that's what stops you from being tricked. That's why I was tricked is not the right thing to say, because you were not tricked. You didn't do nothing. You didn't do nothing to make sure you were not. But it looks bad all around. James Charles is weird. Like, James Charles is weird because this is not the first time. And I don't believe this is the only boy, because that sounds too much like right? No, like, you being weird. You have weird internet habits that you need to figure out. And it's so funny. All this for the baby. All this for Asian doll. What did I say about them, Nikita and, because Nikita got in the same mess the other day, didn't she? Like, y'all need to sweep y'all porch. Because this happens too often. Like, the vlog squad people, this be happening too. Like, too many times in the influencer space, we hear about them talking to little kids. We hear about them talking to little kids. Like, it gotta go, James Charles. This is stupid. This is ugly. Like, where there's smoke, there is fire. People been saying this about you before. Jeffree Star and Tati. By the way, since we are here real quick, this is what I think. Jeffree Star and Tati and Shane Dawson were looking for anything to take James Charles down. And that's why they used this information that was already out about James Charles possibly talking to little kids and grooming little kids. That's why they used that information. James Charles and Shane Dawson and Tati were not whistleblowers for a goddamn thing. Not a goddamn thing. That's why Tati came out and said they all came up with this together, because they're not whistleblowers for a thing. They took something that was halfway the truth, and then they ran with it. That's exactly what happened. Since we're there anyways, and I know you're going to want to know what I think on that, that's exactly what happened with that situation. But James Charles, this is ugly. It's exhausting to see, because I actually care about kids, and I actually care about the kid who is in this situation. Therefore, I'm just like, it's not even this isn't fun drama. I love a good fun drama. This is not fun drama, because at the end of the day, a minor got sent inappropriate text messages, no, or Snapchats, no, this is not fun. This is ugly, James Charles. You got to get your life together, little boy. Get your life together. Anyways, that's the end of this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.